Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Today we're talking about shame. How fun, how exciting, but also how necessary. I actually realized a bit ago, and even more recently, how much shame was running the operation and driving the bus for me. And learning self-compassion has actually changed my life, and it's continuing to. And it's really interesting because I had my therapist and people in my life, and you hear about self-compassion, and I was like, yeah. But when you actually do it and really do it, it changes your life in a way that I cannot describe. And I want to talk about that today. And so for anyone who feels like they're struggling with some shame and really hard on themselves, and for people who are struggling to be kind to themselves, I want to talk about in this episode my journey with that and the importance of it and how we can start doing that. And just, even if you clicked on this being like, I want to learn more about shame, or this topic seems like it might relate to me, chances are it will in some way. And so I really am excited to, not excited, but I feel meaning talking about this. And so yeah, let's dive on in to talk about this, and hopefully you leave this episode feeling some more self-love and wisdom around this, and kind of move forward in a way that's, giving yourself that kindness. So yeah, let's dive in. So I'm going to read to start the definition I found online about shame. And so it says, shame is a painful emotion characterized by a negative self-evaluation, often stemming from the belief that one has done something wrong or is inadequate as a person. It can involve feelings of guilt, regret, or sadness, and often leads to a sense of being unworthy or inadequate. Shame can also be associated with the exposure of something considered indecent or dishonorable. That last part was weird, but whatever. To me, shame is like a negative, again, evaluation of oneself, and really shows up in so many different ways, and ways that maybe you don't even realize has shown up in your life. Shame is really sneaky and finds the crevices in your life of ways to hate on yourself or to think there's something wrong with you and search for the answer. And so many times we don't think it's shame. We just are like, I'm insecure, or I struggle with my worthiness. And it's actually shame sneakily coming into your life and changing how you think about yourself. And it's not actually the true thoughts you have of yourself. Shame is sneaky like that. And here are ways it might show up in your life. I'm going to give some examples and then also share some stories. Or maybe I have a good story. Not a good one, but it's my story around it. But I want to share some ways it might look for you. Or you might notice it in other people's lives, to just get a feeling and a vibe of what it is. And that's because I think a lot of us don't recognize things are shame. And so here's an example of shame. Us talking negatively about our bodies. Us in a conversation with somebody or in a group of people really analyzing how people are responding to us and thinking that everyone hates us or doesn't like what we're saying or is mad at us. Us chasing unavailable people and trying to get them to choose us, and really, really focusing on the people that don't find us worthy. Being really hard on ourselves at work and putting ourselves down when we make mistakes. Having really high expectations of ourselves that we can't meet, and coming down on ourselves hard. Being really, really hard on ourselves when we're not productive enough. Really having harsh words towards ourselves in certain situations, right? I think shame comes up in so many ways, but it's really just this negative perception we have on ourselves. And it's we're really hard on ourselves and we feel badly about ourselves. And shame is really compressing on the nervous system. You probably relate to one of these examples and can almost feel how it feels in the body to feel shame. And so I want to share a story I have about how I learned I had shame and what shame looked like for me, and how I kind of didn't realize that I had it, because guys, it's actually so crazy. So I'm just going to get into it. So I grew up, I think, kind of always feeling like there was something wrong with me. And there wasn't like a big thing that had happened in my life that was like, you're wrong. But I think growing up, there's those micro moments of the time that people in high school didn't approve of you and you didn't fit in, or you felt ugly in comparison to someone, or someone made a comment to you, or, I had ADHD and struggled with mental health growing up and am neurodivergent. So I didn't learn the way that other people did and felt less smart and isolated like that, and have taken kind of a different path in life and always felt weird because of that, or like I couldn't fit in, and that in certain ways there was something wrong with me because of that. And so I had this vision of myself that just got repeatedly re-narrated within that there was something wrong with me. And so I went on this huge self-development journey of just like reading all the self-help books. And I have so many of them sitting in my apartment right now. I would listen to all the podcasts. I would read everything. And I would find new things and new information that would tell me why I actually had something within that I needed to heal and fix and change. And these books are helpful. They're great. And I think self-help books are amazing. I still read them all the time, but it comes from a different place. Like this place was like, I got to find what's wrong. And I would devour these books. I would read listen to these podcasts all day. And I would really just study, and I would find new information. I remember when I found out what trauma was, I was like, that's it. And we've all had that moment where we read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and we're like, there it is. And like, I'm reading all these things and I'm learning these things, and it's helpful on some level. I'm learning about trauma and how emotions are stuck and experiences are stuck in our nervous system. And I'm learning about the nervous system. And I'm learning about somatics, and I'm learning about somatic healing, and I'm reading about just so attachment styles and learning so much. And that eventually drove me to wanting to be a relationship coach, because I was like, there's something wrong with me. I'm noticing in dating. I'm chasing unavailable people. I am anxious off the wazoo. I wanted to learn everything. And the reason I got into self-development, honestly, wasn't probably the best way. I think a lot of us get into self-development because of shame. And I think a lot of us also get into it because we're interested in knowing more about ourselves. But for me, it was definitely the avenue of shame. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I want to expand and grow. It was like, I need to fix myself and find what's wrong with me so that I can feel good about myself, so that I can fit in. And it really was an outside game for so long. I was just searching for the thing that was going to fix me. And I would get like a quick hit of information of like, oh, it's trauma. Oh, it's my nervous system. Oh, I need to do this. I was even doing neurofeedback for a while. My family had me do neurofeedback. I was doing like food testing. I was looking for any answer. And I got to a point where I realized, like, if I keep reading all these things and I keep finding all this new information and I have an aha moment, and then I go exactly back to the way that I was, what's going on here? And at first I thought it was because I wasn't being disciplined enough. I was learning something and not implementing it. And then the shame came harder. It was like, well, you actually can't stick to anything. You actually can't heal. You actually can't change. And it wasn't until I saw a video come up on my TikTok about shame that I had a new, like, something flipped. The video was about how shame distorts how we view ourselves, and it is really compressing on the nervous system, and it changes and warps the way that we view ourselves, so much so that it creates like a false reality. And I think at the core, we're all authentically whole, and we have traumas and things that create narratives within us that drive our lives. And so knowing those things I learned from self-development was important, but they also were just more information around the idea of shame. So anyway, long story short, learning I had shame helped me understand why I was searching so hard for what was wrong with me. And I think healing is a great thing. And I think we all need healing. But I don't think coming from a place of shame is the right lens in which we're healing, right? For me, it was like, I got to find as fast as possible what's wrong with me and fix it. Fix being the word, not heal. I got to fix it as fast as possible. And so when I learned I had shame, I began to, classic me, learn about shame. And I was kind of doing the same thing. I was like, I got to fix this shame so I can feel better. But that's not really what healing shame calls for. It actually calls for something different, which is self-compassion. And I had never tried that because I had only tried being mean to myself, fixing as fast as possible, telling myself I had to be fixed, rushing, reading, doing more. And so when I learned kind of that shame was driving the whole bus, it was telling me, read this, fix this, do this. It was telling me to do, fix. I kind of realized and I had this thought of if I didn't have this thing telling me what to do, would I be doing any of these things? And I realized, holy shit, shame is running the whole operation. And that is when I started healing, but in a different way. I ended up finding a therapist that honestly changed my life. And we did a lot of, talking through it, some body stuff, some body work, etc., things I knew about, but it was in such a different way. We worked with the shame, and a big part of this practice was self-compassion. And so growing up, we have experiences like in childhood or in high school where we have moments, not even necessarily huge moments. They could be, but oftentimes they're also small. Like that girl who made a joke about your body that you've internalized, or listening to your mom talk about her body and doing that now to yourself, or your dad being hard on you about grades and you holding that, or feeling like you don't fit in around people in high school, or, it's a comment, it's an experience. And we have these moments where we don't feel good enough or worthy or adequate, and we store that. And the mean voice we heard from someone else, or the mean voice we downloaded that we spoke to ourselves as in a moment in order to survive, in order to try to push ourselves out of the moment, because sometimes we try to encourage ourselves by being mean so we can fit in, right? We have those voices stuck at certain times in our life, and they speak to us all day. So I realized that the voice that was telling me that I was too weird and not good enough was the experience in high school when I was a part of this group of popular girls who made me feel like I wasn't ever fitting in, and made comments about me and my body and who I was, and I was never as cool as them. And I learned from those experiences that I wasn't cool. Having ADHD and struggling with learning the same way, I didn't really realize it back then. I just thought that I literally couldn't pay attention and I had to work harder than a lot of people. And I took such pride in working hard, and then felt shame that I had to work so hard and that I wasn't as smart as people around me. And there's just so many experiences, whether they were from, people saying something or me feeling away. I just had so many downloads of not feeling good enough. And so the voices were coming from a stuck part from middle school or childhood or high school. They can even be as you get older. And shame is the voice of our father or our mother or a mean girl in high school or our sister or our uncle that told us we aren't good enough or worthy enough or pretty enough or that we're doing it wrong. It's the experience that taught us that we're not smart enough. It's the experience where we felt less than and dumb and not cool. And now those parts within us all day are talking to us, and there are shame, and there are these wounded parts that tell us that we're not good enough, and we think it's us. And we have this narrative that we're not enough, we're all these things, and it's actually just little parts from different experiences and people speaking at us within, and we think it's our own voice. But it's not. Our real voice is authentic and in wholeness, and It's not your mom yelling at you in your body or your experience from high school talking to you, And so that's the importance of healing our pain, is so that we can not look at our lives from a shame lens. And so I really learned I had to find a way, and therapy was so helpful. But when she told me about self-compassion, I thought it was stupid, because I was like, yeah, I'll be nice to myself. But I never did it. I literally never did. I tried it once, but I didn't mean it. And I did not mean it in a nice, real way. It would often come with a tone of I love you. You're doing great. AKA, I'm just saying this to hurry and fix you. I'm trying to hurry and fix the shame. And it wasn't until I realized that I had to really be self-compassionate in a real, genuine way, and not to fix myself, just to offer it myself because I could, was when things changed for me. And I'm going to read you guys a quick definition of self-compassion. Self-compassion is the practice of extending kindness, understanding, and acceptance towards oneself, particularly during times of suffering or perceived inadequacy. It involves treating oneself with the same warmth and care that one would offer to a close friend facing difficulty. And I love that, because we're so mean to ourselves all the time, and we are so kind to other people that we love most of the time, and we offer them very different things than we offer ourselves. And so what I learned was that I had to offer myself that same kindness. We go around all the time giving other people so much kindness, and we fail to give it to ourselves, and we are the one who needs it the most. And so I learned that each time I had a thought, and I started looking at it differently, right? I started looking at my shame within differently, and looking at the negative feelings I had about myself, and the moments where I was mean to myself, or the moments where I felt insecure, and the moments I heard those voices in my head saying negative things about myself. They weren't actually my voice. They were the voice of a person from the past, a person from childhood that I had trapped within, and these experiences I had trapped within where I didn't feel good enough about myself. And it's my younger child saying, hey, you don't feel good about yourself. There's something wrong with you. And my adult self would agree by saying the same things, or pushing that voice away and saying, shut up, go away. If you start looking at your difficult emotions and the parts of you that are speaking in shame as inner toddlers, you start realizing that the way you're speaking to yourself is creating so much more harm. You're actually speaking to these little inner toddlers with unkindness. You're telling them to shut up and to go away and to be quiet, and you're speaking the same language as them, when really all they want to do is say how they feel and have you let them be there and love them and to offer them love. At the least, have we ever just let them state their piece and be? Let them say, well, I'm not feeling good about you right now. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling bad. And just letting that be. At the first sight of that, we agree with them and say you are bad, or we push them away. When we can start letting them be there and then offering them the words and love that they actually need to hear, it's life-changing. You're actually seeing a toddler and instead saying, go away, or being mean to them, we're saying, come here. You're allowed. You're allowed to feel sad. There. I love you. I hear you. You're letting them just feel. And have you ever just let them feel? Have you ever let them just be there and know that it's okay? I'm reading this book called Why We Meditate, and there's this part about we think ice is separate from water and we keep it frozen rather than realizing it just needs to melt into the rest of the water. And that is the same thing with our pain. This toddler getting yelled at and pushed away is just going to be the same angry self, the same hurt self. But if you bring it and put it on your lap and say, you can just be in this, And then asking your inner toddler, like, what are you feeling? What's actually going on? And offering it the loving words it needs. It starts to, the kiddo starts to feel protected and loved, and it softens. And when you think about it in the ice term, the ice becomes water. It's not this separate part of you. It's the same thing. It's just a blockage that needs to melt into everything else. And so just like that, this kid needs to know it can relax, and it can be, and it can play, and it can stop running the show, and it can go be a kid again. And you're an adult now, and you can take care of things, but they're going to keep knocking because they have pain, and you have to listen and love them, or they're going to keep knocking. The book Why We Meditate, it's so good. I'm going to grab it here. It's so good. It talks about these kind of 3 steps, right? Well, 2 steps. I've kind of added a third, but 1, you're letting it be. You're letting it know it doesn't have to go anywhere, that you're not trying to fix it like you always are. And you're just letting it be. And sometimes that allows the ice to melt into the water. But sometimes you need to give it a handshake. And it might try to kick back. But you're essentially giving it a handshake saying, I see you, I hear you, I'm okay with you being here, and I love you. And then I've added on giving that internal part of ourselves the words it needs. I oftentimes offer myself a statement like, I know it's hard right now, and I love you for continuing, or you're allowed to be imperfect and still be loved by me. Or, these are just coming off the top of my brain. I could be in a social situation. I do it on the spot all the time. If I feel awkward socially, I'll first try to let it be, and then I handshake this emotion. And then if I need to, I'll offer it a statement like, hey, I see that you feel uncomfortable, and I want you to know that you can be imperfect and messy, and I'm not going to leave you. And I'm going to love you anyway. It just wants to know that you're going to be there. And that inner toddler is going to keep fighting and screaming until you let it go play, because it knows it doesn't have anything to worry about anymore. It feels like it has to protect itself because you aren't protecting it. Like, if you aren't listening, if a kid's not being listened to, it's going to keep screaming, and it's going to keep yelling and fighting for attention and thinking it's going to have to protect itself because you're the adult and you're not protecting it, just like it had to do when it was younger. And if you tell it, hey, it's okay that you're here, and I've got you, and I've got this, the kid can go play. And again, you are the adult, and you are taking it from here, and you're letting that piece of you, that inner toddler, go rest and go do what it's meant to do. Play, be, heal, be okay, because you are letting it have its feelings, and you are loving them and giving it the love that it didn't get in the moments in the past. And so self-compassion has been life-changing because it's helped me bring those parts of me back into wholeness and melt the ice back into the water of which it is. Like, these blockages, these parts of you are all part of one whole, but we look at them as separate, and we try to push them and punch them and fight them, and all they really need is our love and our acceptance. And they'll remain frozen until we let them melt, and they melt by giving them acceptance and love. Think about it like this. If you were in a conversation with someone and you're really hurt, and they say, this is ridiculous that you feel like this, that's going to stay stuck. Imagine how that feels. It's going to stay stuck. You're going to feel like crap. But if they say to you, tell me how you feel. I really want to hear you. Like, this is such an open space. I want to hear you. And you share with them, and they meet you with love and compassion and want to work with you and make it better. You open, you soften, you heal, and it feels good. For the mere point of it just feeling good, I think is everything. And so shame has been a big part of my life, and I still feel it all the time. It knocks often. And I think that in every moment, if I let it be and I let it be loved again and again, One day, so many parts of me are going to be integrated into wholeness, and I'll be able to hear my full voice versus all these other voices that aren't mine, that aren't me in authenticity and wholeness, that are actually me needing healing. And I think everything can be loved back through love. Everything can be healed back through love. And so I'm going to close this soon. I just feel like I threw a lot of information at you guys, but I want you to know that you deserve your self-compassion and love and understanding. And if you don't feel like you do right now, can you at least look at these parts of you as like kids that need love? And you wouldn't abandon kids that need love, because that's not who you are. You deserve your self-compassion and love and kindness. And I think that knowing we would extend this to so many people around us, it's like, why would we be any different? If shame is driving your bus, I want you to know that self-compassion can too. You have to live either way. And I would rather you live a life giving yourself the thing that is actually going to make you happy and feel good. And so for anyone who's struggling right now, I want you to know there's another way. And sometimes we want to grip onto the old way of shame because it's comfortable and it's what we know and it's how we make sense of things. And we sometimes don't want to let it go because it's, again, what we know. And I just want to encourage you on the path of this to try in small moments offering yourself compassion. When you're on a walk and you trip and you go, that was so stupid, you say, that happens to everyone. It's okay. Or when you mess up at work, you send an email with a typo and you say, oh, they're going to hate me for this. I'm so stupid. I can't make mistakes like that. You say to yourself, sometimes I make mistakes, and that is okay because I'm human and I accept my humanness and I love myself anyway. And these words may not be most resonant with you. Like, you have to think about what that part of you really needs to hear. And sometimes it feels stupid because it's like, well, why would I be nice to myself when I need to hear that so that I don't do it again? That feels like fluff. Like, I can't be making these mistakes or doing these things, so I need to be mean to myself. And it's like, I think there is another way to do it in a way where it's like, giving yourself love doesn't mean you're not going to make changes. It just means you're not going to hate yourself to getting there. It just means you're going to love yourself to getting there. You can make a mistake at work and tell yourself, I love you even though you made this mistake, and then apologize to your boss. You don't only get action done through hate. There's a loving way to do it. And when you lead with love, love mirrors back to you in your life. People mirror that love back with you. You know, the more you affirm yourself, the more other people will affirm you, and the more you'll start affirming others. People can feel your love and kindness because you give it to yourself. And it feels so fucking good. So for anyone who's having a hard time giving yourself self-compassion, know that there is another way to do things in life, and that way actually works, and that you deserve it. You deserve your love and compassion. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that if you start giving yourself more, even just little steps, little things, it doesn't need to be the big things yet, that your life will change and your relationship with yourself will change. I've even noticed in these last weeks the craziness that comes from this, of literally being like, oh my gosh, I have a tool wherever I go to feel okay. Socially, anything. Like, if I'm around a group situation and I don't feel comfortable, I say, it's okay. It's okay to sit here and feel weird. I'm with you. Do you know how comforting it is? It's crazy. Like, this tool is like, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have this information. I must spread it because people have to know about this. It's huge. So I'm actually going to close the episode out. I hope this helped. I hoped it reminded you that there is another way, and that loving yourself is cool and it's helpful and it's loving, and to know you're not alone. Like, I struggle with it all the time. A lot of times my first instinct is to go to shame, and I'm just starting to catch myself more and shift the narrative. We're in it together. So I'm sending you guys tons of compassion, and I hope you can put a hand on your heart right now and know that you're not alone. I love you guys. Again, before we head out to the book Why We Meditate, it's great. Also, the book Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, it's incredible. Has a lot about self-compassion in there, and I recommend it. And if you're going to go learn about something, learn about self-compassion. Don't do it in a way you try to fix yourself, but to love yourself. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I'm sending you guys so much love. Tons of hugs. I'll talk to you soon.